What about it? Do you believe black people should get reparations?
No, I think black people should get equity, and I think the two are different. I think that I'm not really a fan of handouts. Like, I don't want your money. I just want me to be able to make my money and you not be on my dick about making it.
What about it? Do you believe black people should get reparations?
No, I think black people should get equity, and I think the two are different. I think that I'm not really a fan of handouts. Like, I don't want your money. I just want me to be able to make my money and you not be on my dick about making it. I don't think that if we get reparations, we gonna fare any better. Me personally, I don't think that. So I think reparations would be a waste for most. Some would definitely take the money and do some positive things with it, but I don't think it'll get us no better if we're not changing how we're being treated in America. I don't think reparations going to nothing.
It's about rich and poor. So the way we being treated is because we're poor.
No, I think that yes and no. I think
let me just finish. So if we did get the money, would it change how we're treated because they're not necessarily poor anymore?
No, because they're not going to give you enough money for you to be rich. Reparations, they're going to have to give 13% of the population reparations. And then they're going to decide if you got black blood, if you don't, like when we get the reparations. One, the reparations don't come with a financial literacy package to show you how to use the money to your best advantage.
That I agree with.
That's number one. Number two, it's black people that make a shit ton of money today that still don't do nothing with the money and don't gain nothing in society just because they have money. So I don't think the reparations is the end all be all. I think that's a cop out for me.
I would just say one, and I get the idea of not taking handouts, but the whole argument of reparations that it's not a handout, that it's owed. Right, that it's reparations literally means repair,
Gotcha.
Repair the damage done. So the idea is, if you took, like you said, if you got a 100-year head start and you took my money for 100 years, you exploited my labor, and all this stuff was built around our labor, universities, companies, insurance, all
the country,
yeah, the whole country, right, every institution. Then giving us reparations isn't a handout; it's actually what we owe, what we're owed. And then the second part of that, I think, is I've never heard people say reparations is either or. You know, I've been part of the reparations movement for a long time, not like a leader of it, but just advocating for it. And every reparations person I know is also asking for voting rights, housing protections, other things. And then the last part of it is, I think reparations should be a check. I think every descendant of slavery, to be clear, so I don't get hit on the internet, every descendant of American slavery here in the United States deserves reparations.
Gotcha.
But I also think, in addition to the check, we should also have access to free.
Overall, we talking about a check.
It's two different thoughts.
You taking it when most people, in a general sense, talk about reparations, they talking about a check.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You get what I'm saying?
I think that's fair.
If you said, yo, do you think every descendant of slavery should get free education? Yeah. And again, it just depends on...
would you, if you got all the other stuff, would you be okay with the check too?
I wouldn't be turned down the check now.
No, I mean, as an idea. I don't mean would you turn down. I mean, would you
I just think that I don't think it's going to do what people think it's going to do. I think that a lot of times people just be like, yo, if my mother worked at such and such, I would be doing better. Or if all of that shit, to me, it's the same ideology. In my overall, we talking about a check.
It's two different thoughts.
Dave Chappelle had the thing about reparations. He's like, yo, the Cadillac dealership gonna be empty in 2 days. Shit like that. Like, I just think that they had a whole.
That's shit white people say to justify not giving it.
Yeah, I'm about to say it. And so we cop Cadillacs then.
No, it ain't even just to justify not giving it.
The white boys got all that crypto money and bought every Lambo in the spot.
But I'm just saying, we kind of saw something similar, not similar, but we saw when people got access to a whole bunch of extra money they didn't expect during COVID
and all that shit. Yeah.
And look what happened.
Yeah. I'm of the belief that that's not my business.
True.
I'm not saying that y'all are right, that y'all are wrong. That ain't my business. Somebody go get their check and blow it.
Of course.
It's funny.
Mine in the shoebox still.
This is a side, but it's kind of related. When I was in Nashville this weekend, we went to the Country Music History Museum or whatever, and they had some cars. They had Elvis's car. It was diamond paint, gold-plated trim, TV in the back. Another dude's car had guns for the door handle.
Dave Chappelle had the thing about
Reparations.
He's like, yo, the Cadillac dealership gonna be empty in 2 days. Shit like that. Like, I just think that
They had a whole
This is shit white people say to justify not giving it.
Why do you not think our community deserves reparations?
for them to give every black person in the United States reparations, it'll cripple the financial system in America.
Can I ask you a question on that? During the pandemic, damn near the entire country got whatever that $1,200 check. Black people only make up 13% of the country. And then unemployment somehow was also able to tax on an additional $600 a week to those people who were unemployed during the pandemic. How do you reckon that 13% of the country receiving reparations would cripple a country that was able to give out? And it didn't cripple us because, let's be very clear, we're still sending money to Ukraine. Everybody else getting money except for here.
One, they ain't give a shit. Number two, and we paying for it right now. The economy right now is in a shitter. And, dog, people don't understand. You had to pay that on your taxes. That wasn't a free gift. So you didn't get no money from the government. If you had to claim that money as income and pay taxes on it, they loaned you some money. And you now gotta pay it back.
All right, at this point, it's just trying to sound smart. I'll take equity over reparations. Hey, yo, somebody should have legitimately asked him, yo, Ish, what's the difference between reparations and equity? Can you break that down? He'd have been quiet as hell. All right. Just trying to be different, trying to be smart. All right, reparations and equity are both responses to injustice, but they are totally different in goals, definitions, and applications. And equity cannot replace reparations as a means of justice and compensation. Now, what is the definition of reparations? Let's get that out the way. Reparations are compensatory actions taken to atone for past harms or injustices inflicted on a group of people, usually by a government, institution, or dominant society. Reparations typically involve monetary payments, land restitution, education funding, or public apologies. Acknowledge a specific historic injustice, e.g., slavery, genocide, forced relocation. Not equities, but reparations are owed to the harmed group as a debt, not as a favor or benefit. Okay, this is not something you could just say, no thank you. It's owed to the harmed group. It's duly yours. Examples: Germany paid reparations to Holocaust survivors as the state of Israel. But would you say that the survivors of the Holocaust, they received handouts for their genocide? Would you actually say that on the Joe Budden podcast? Hey, the disrespect for us, it's coming to an end because we're standing up. Just read all the comments. Matter of fact, I'll read the comments. The U.S. gave reparations to Japanese Americans intended. The U.S. gave reparations to Japanese Americans interned during World War II. All right. Was that a handout to the Japanese people that were done wrong? Enslaved Black Americans, who we call foundational Black Americans or American freedmen, or just being respectful, American descendants of slaves, right? African Americans, people say, I'm just being respectful to all the terms, right? But we say foundational Black Americans have never received federal reparations despite centuries of slavery, Jim Crow laws, and systemic exclusion from wealth building programs like the GI Bill and Social Security. So now let's define equity. Equity refers to the fair distribution of resources, opportunities, and access in the present, taking into account the existing disparities caused by past or ongoing systemic injustices, right? So equity focuses on leveling the playing field, e.g., giving more help to those who start from behind, seeks to create equal outcomes, not just equal opportunities, is forward-looking, addressing current gaps in education, healthcare, housing, income, etc. Example, allocating more education funding to under-resourced Black schools is equity. Affirmative action in hiring or university admissions is equity-ish. Providing extra support for minority-owned businesses is equity-ish, but you see, it's for everybody who's called a minority. So I wonder who actually advised is to say that on a big podcast like Joe Budden. I wonder who possibly even paid Ish a few pennies to go say that on the Joe Budden podcast, to use equities as an alternative to reparations. And the fact that he didn't even explain really. Now, are reparations and equities interchangeable? No. Reparations and equity are not interchangeable. Let's go through it. Okay, so what is the purpose of reparations? It's to compensate for past harm-ish. What is the purpose for equity? To address current disparities. You see? So one is addressing the past and one is addressing the present day. Okay? So, quite frankly, we'll take both. But to say past harm is no good, we'll just take current conditions is just a fool. Who is it for? Who's reparations for? Specific group harmed historically, in this case, foundational Black Americans, American descendants of slaves. Who is equity for? Anyone disadvantaged by current systemic inequalities ish. Reparations is all exclusive. Equities are all inclusive ish. Who sent ish the agent? What is the legal moral framing for reparations? A debt owed or restitution. What is the legal moral framing for equity? A policy goal for fairness. What's the scope for reparations? Often limited to a particular historical injustice. What is the scope for equity? Can apply to various groups and systems. Various groups. You stinky? Ah, you stinky. No, get your go wash your hand, go wash your hand, go better. You eating. Go. Okay, get down. Okay, so what is normally the form of reparations? Cash payments, land returns, public apology. What is the form of equity? Policy changes, resource reallocation, targeted support. No cash payments, no land returns, and no public apology. There's no accountability. It just, here you go. It's like a gift. It's like gifted to you. Now, Ish positioned equities as a replacement or equity as a replacement for reparations. I'm saying equities because more things come out of it than just one, as we just seen. Affirmative action, this, that. Anyway, no, equity is necessary but not sufficient. Here's why equity cannot replace reparations ish. Number one, moral accountability, as we just went over briefly. Reparations admit legal and moral guilt. Equity does not. So ish, like that was very, very slick, man. That was very, very slick. I'm speaking about Ish from the Joe Budden podcast whatever. Equities does not admit to legal or moral guilt. Equity can be framed as benevolence